Namaste, friends, to our Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga program, which we beam on our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels on every Sunday at 8 p.m. Today we are back with Dr. Subramanian Swami discussing a new subject, very important subject, that is the Tamil Nadu temple under siege, a way out. Dr. Swami will be discussing the next 1 hour this issue that is created a lot of interest and lot of protest in Tamil Nadu. And we will be having a discussion with past case history and other things on this show for the next 1 hour. Dr. Swami has been consistently fighting the Hindu temple takeover against by the state governments, and a very celebrated case which a judgment came in 2014 known as the Dr. Subramaniam Swami versus the state of Tamil Nadu, which is regarding the famous Sabanayagar Chidambaram temple, that is in the town of Chidambaram, the Sabanayagaram temple. He has been associated with the challenge to the Tirupati temple takeover in Andhra. Dr. Swami has also challenged the Kerala Devasanam board of temples, especially the Padmanabha Swami temple issue. The matter is now in the Supreme Court. He has recently challenged the BJP government in Uttarakhand temple takeover of the ancient and sacred temples in the sacred state or the Devbhumi of Uttarakhand. And even in the recent, there was a case of Gokarna temple of Karnataka. Dr. Swami has been active in opposing this temple takeover in the Supreme Court. So all these issues Dr. Swami will tell us today in a detailed way. I have to thank my co-host Ramesh Swami and Professor Arvind Chaturvedi for their weekly support, and our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Tejas Navalgul from Pune, Gadgi Rakesh from Karnataka, Ishwar Iyer from Maharashtra, Swaminathan from Tamil Nadu, and Vishal Mehta from Maharashtra for their support in putting this weekly program together. I also have to inform you that last week we had a very important discussion on Taliban, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and China with Professor Brahma Chelani. And I'm happy to note that we had a record viewership of 1,16,000 plus viewers on our limited. Last week we had some constraint because we did it on a different platform, but still we had a 1,16,000 viewership. So I thank our viewers across the globe, especially in the 129 countries who watch our program on Sunday. So with this word, it is over to Dr. Swami to continue and tell us about his crusade on freeing the Hindu temples from government control. Over to Dr. Swami.
Thank you very much, Jagdish. Actually, there are many more cases also pending. The Kashi Vishwanath case is pending in the Supreme Court. Because of Corona, I couldn't get it listed just now. And then Tirupati, I have 150% by mutual consent. The Tirupati, the Jagan government has agreed with me to have the accounts of the Tirupati temple audited by CAG. And it's the first such example in the country. And I think every state must now the accounts of the temples where they have taken over through that act, Hindu Religious Foundation, etc. Act. So it's a very great scandal that the only religious institution taken over by government happen to be the Hindus. There's not a single case of Muslim mosque or one of their institutions being taken over, or any church or any Christian organization. And it was the British idea that since the temples were becoming a center for freedom struggle, to destroy it. And so they decided to squeeze it, make the pujaris poor, they're deprived of money. In fact, a large number of temples in most parts of India cannot even hold puja because they don't have money unless somebody comes and gives them the money to hold the puja. So anyway, the topic you have announced, I see, is Tamil Nadu temples under siege, a way out. So two crucial words in it, siege and a way out. So I'll divide my lecture into two parts. First, I'll deal with the siege that is taking place in Tamil Nadu, and then, of course, the way out. As you know that I'll come to it, but I've already in the past been involved in the temple issue in Tamil Nadu and been victorious. I'll tell you a bit about it very soon. But let me say one thing, that this first word, siege, is absolutely true for Tamil Nadu. And the word, according to Webster Dictionary, means a very seriously attacked, if sometimes by violence, and surrounded. That is, when you surround something and then you attack it violently, that's called a siege. So the temples of Tamil Nadu are under attack. There's no doubt. It's the history is like that, and it began essentially with the Dravida movement, led by Periyar, as they call him, E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar. Although Periyar had justification for his anger with the upper caste because they isolated him, they sidelined him, and then he took to this. And one indication of this is that his father was a very religious person. He had built a temple in Erode and told his son that, listen, once I die, you are going to look after this temple and see that it is properly run. And despite all his anti-Tamil activities, E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar had looked after that temple so well that he used to get the first prize every year for cleanliness and accessibility and so on. So I mean, it's I am not defending or attacking any particular community because there have been faults on both sides, but I would like the temples to be protected because we are a 80% Hindu country. And these have been targets of invaders, and it's time we had a renaissance in our temples. And so wherever I find any atrocity, including in where BJP government is there, I go to court to see that relief is provided. So in the case of Tamil Nadu, Karunanidhi had a great dream that he will be able to take over the Sabhanayakar Nataraj temple in the town of Chidambaram, and he finally succeeded in the late late years of 1990s. And then I was asked by Dayanand Saraswati to take it up because the pujaris, who are called Dikshitas, they lost in the single judge, before the single judge of the High Court and the division bench, and they felt they had no money to come to Delhi. So Swami Dayananda Saraswati told me to take it up, and I told him, I've not been involved at all in this matter. How will I suddenly enter in the Supreme Court? And the Supreme Court laughed me out and probably even fined me if necessary. He said, you don't worry, I'm praying for you, you go. And I did, and lo and behold, big surprise I got. I'll just tell you how the Supreme Court has regarded my petition in a minute. But let me read something from long time ago in 1959. SCC, I think the case judgment was given in 1958. By the time they published it, it went to the it was in August of 1958, the judgment was given by the Supreme Court by a 3-judge bench. And it is the title of that is Veerabhadran Chettiar versus E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. What happened is, I'll tell you, this is a typical DMK strategy, DK strategy. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar went to a shop, paid money out of his pocket, and bought a Ganesha. Then he called a public meeting, and he took this Ganesha, and he said, all of you here who are bhaktas, just watch what I'm going to do. And it was made out of clay, of course, and he threw it on the ground. It broke into pieces. And he said, nothing has happened to me. Where is Ganesha? And he made fun of that. So somebody filed a case. He lost in the lower levels in Tamil Nadu, and finally went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar's lawyers said this was something he bought. He paid money for it. It was his property. It was just a clay Ganapati. He didn't go to a temple and do it. He took it, it was his private property, he took it home, and then he brought it to a public function and did it. So the Supreme Court said something very important, and I think Mr. Stalin should realize that this is in the 1959 Supreme Court reports thing, and starting on page 1211, and I'll just read a small part. The first thing the court says is, as a result of these considerations by us, it must be held that the courts below have erred in their interpretation of the crucial words of section 295 of the Indian Penal Code. Now I'm going to read that also. It's something that you have to remember and tell all these DMK guys who come and trouble you. 295, I'll file an FIR on you on that. And then it says, after admonishing, if there is a recurrence of such foolish behavior, what is the foolish behavior? Taking the Ganapati in a public meeting and throw it on the ground and said, where is your Ganapati? Which the court says, if there is a recurrence of such a foolish behavior on the part of any section of any community, we have no doubt that those charged with the duty of maintaining law and order will apply the law in the sense which we have interpreted the law. That is, section 295 is a very, very wide-ranging section. And if I can read out for you just one line of that section, offenses relating to religion. This is in the Indian Penal Code. And it says, 295 is injuring or defiling place of worship with the intent to insult the religion of any group. And it says, whoever destroys, damages, or defiles any place of worship or any object held sacred by any class of persons with the intention thereby insulting the religion of any class of person, with the knowledge that any class of person likely to consider such destruction, damage, as an insult to the religion, shall be punishable with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 2 years, with a fine or with both. Now, this is an extraordinary thing. And what does it say in its thing? Repeat the key phrase I'm telling you. If whoever destroys or damages, defiles any place of worship or any object held, now listen carefully, held sacred by any class of persons, who according to whom is it sacred? Not according to Periyar. It was not hidden. Ramaswamy Naikar did not hold Ganapati sacred, but the people, a class of people, not even the whole Hindu population, a class of persons, holding that this is sacred, then no matter how much, what defense you have, it doesn't matter. You are punishable and sent to jail for 2 years with a fine. This is the law, and it is not being applied in Tamil Nadu at all. And I'm warning all politicians of the DMK, please be careful. Don't speak about Hindu religion in bad words, because I will file a case. If the others are all cowards and they're, in fact, I find most of our BJP people have all disappeared. I don't see them anywhere in the action. Only RSS and Vishwa Hindu Parishad is active, and with the Hindu Munani. But BJP nowhere. And they should appeal to the center, please use Section 295 and send these people to jail. Because this is a cognizable offense, so even if you have not been convicted, you can be kept in jail. At least in bail, like I put Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi in bail. I said, no, need not send them to jail, because, pointless having them, and with all the Bhajan Mandali sitting outside Tihar jail, it's a waste of time. Let me convict them and send them to jail. So therefore, anyone says anything, please keep a tape recording of that, or a camera photo, or a video, and then have one of the lawyers go and file a complaint in the police station saying Section 295 has been violated. So, and why is it violated? Because we Hindus feel insulted by it. It doesn't matter if they think there's nothing to be insulted. Even the police cannot decide whether it's an offense or not. If a group of people say, then that is it. So this is the first point I want to make. About siege. The siege is there because you Tamil Hindus in Tamil Nadu are what, pussycats. You're, you don't have the guts to stand up to these people and start saying, somebody should do this, somebody should do that. Nobody is going to do anything till you as Hindus stand up. And I did it for Sabha Nayakar, because Acharya, our great saint, there, Dayanand Saraswati, whom I had extraordinarily high regard, he told me, do it for me. And even though I told him I have no chance, having not appeared in the lower courts, how can I go to the Supreme Court? They will say, who are you? Why have you come now? And but he said, no, I'll give you blessings. And that's how I won that case. I'll tell you more about that judgment in a minute. So first point is it. Second is that in Tamil Nadu, the number of Tamil temples under government control is much more in a ratio sense than any other part of India. The whole of India, the total number of temples under government control, total number under government control is 4 lakhs. And how much is it in Tamil Nadu? 45,000. Which means what? More than 10%. And the population of Tamil Nadu as a ratio of the total population of India is only 6%. So 6% population, but 10% of the temples have been taken in. And they've been taken in for years and years and years. And I'll come to that also. There is a time limit under the law. And that we must understand that, you see. So therefore, the Tamil Nadu is a terrible situation. Now, of course, there are other allegations that they have looted the money, they've eaten it. Unless you can prove it, there's no use going on crying about it. In the Sabha Nayakar case, I only said that they have no right, because there's not a single prosecution, FIR of any misuse of resources. Those Dikshitas are full-time pujaris and descended. There's a whole family, and they are bhaktas of Shiva, and therefore we can't do it. And they, the DK produced some fellow who said, I was turned around, I was kicked out because I was not a Brahmin. All nonsense goes on. But all that, the Supreme Court dismissed. They think, we don't care for all this. So, therefore, Tamil Nadu is pretty this is a pretty bad case. Third point I want to make on this siege business is Article 25 and 26 deal with religion. And this religion, this article say very simply, you have a fundamental right to pursue your religion and also set up institutions like temples or churches or mosques. And nobody, no government can interfere unless the secular aspects of the temple, there is some mismanagement. And that is, what is the secular aspect? They collect money from the public, and that money from the public should be accounted. So I am saying that the government of the day cannot decide whether the accounts are being properly done or not. And therefore, in Tirupati case, when I filed it, I must say, to the credit of Jagan, all these crazy guys are going around at the instance of Chandrababu Naidu to say he's a Christian, he's this, he's anti-Muslim, he's anti-Hindu, and he's taken over. They put Jesus Christ photo on that. I've got a defamation case also, which I filed. A newspaper claimed it was not true. But he told the court through his advocate general that Swami has two pleas. One is that Tirupati should be freed, and we have not made up our mind whether to agree with that. But the second prayer, that the accounts of the Tirupati have not been audited by any independent auditor, and therefore that auditing, Dr. Swami wants the CAG to do it, not the government, because the government is the culprit. How can they do the auditing? So therefore, we are in agreement, and we will agree that Tirupati accounts will now be audited by the CAG. So it's a big step, first step in the whole of India. I want the whole country to do it. I'll bring that in Tamil Nadu also very soon when I get time free from my other cases. So therefore, let me say one thing. You can't just take a temple because you issued a GO. What nonsense is that? You can't do that. You have to make a case. And as the Supreme Court says, I'll read out in a few moments. But the fact is that in Tamil Nadu, everything is arbitrary. Somebody comes to power, he does it. Somebody comes to power, he's a little diluted the Dravida movement, so he does it a little less, but they all are looting the temples. And these temples, there's no auditing, nothing. So therefore, I want to tell you today that the law is totally in favor of the Hindu community in Tamil Nadu. And these 45,000 temples, they have been there too long. The Supreme Court in my Sabanagar Nataraj temple case said it should be for a short period. I said 3 years. They said no, 5 years is a good. 5 years means they come in, they don't come into the temple. They go to the office, look at the account books, and then put in some new laws. They must have already done the analysis in advance that there has been misappropriation. Now in future, this misappropriation shouldn't take place. The hundi money should be collected this way, and then entered in a logbook in this way, etc. All those things, and then give it back. This is what is done. Now I don't blame the people. Ask me, the DMK has done this. I get angry when the BJP people call me up and say, please come, the DMK has done that. I said, what about Uttarakhand? Mr. Modi has ordered, Amit Shah has given the direction that 52 temples, that is 99% of all the temples in Uttarakhand, be taken over by the government, and the chief minister, whoever is the chief minister, it may be tomorrow congressman also, he'll be the chairman of all the temples, all 52 temples. So I went to the High Court. Now, High Court, the Chief Justice was in a hurry because he was going to retire. So he gave only a partial relief, but that was the important part. He said the treasury will not be in the hands of the government. It will be continue to remain in the hands of the pujaris. So more than 50% have achieved, but still have gone in appeal to Supreme Court saying government has no business to be in this because they never showed a single scrap of evidence to show that there's some misappropriation that has taken place. And so I'll win that very soon as the court lists my case. But I'm saying that today this seems to be like a disease. It's not only DMK, it's also ADMK, it's also Congress, it's also BJP, it's also Samajwadi Party. All of them think that this is a good way to collect money, I think. Because I don't see what else, because they're not religious people. So therefore, I would say that this is become an epidemic, and we have to cure it by fighting for it. It has to be fought, because even though I won that case, that Sabha Nayakar Nataraj temple, of course, after I won it, many people came and said, we also won it. But thanks to, I would like very soon, as I finish this point, our friend Ramesh, to show some pages of the judgment of Sabha Nayakar Nataraj temple, and show how they have been very clear and specific as to who did this and whose urging they have taken up this case. And because everybody comes and then starts, joining and pleading, and asking that their petition also be considered, so that if I win, then they also get some credit, that kind of thing. But anyway, in a short time we'll do that. But today, the first part of a siege, the siege is there because you are timid. The Tamils are timid. And it doesn't matter if they are Brahmins or not Brahmins, there's no such thing as a born Brahmin. Lord Krishna has said that in Bhagavad Gita. You have to be a Jnani, Tyagi, and Sahasi. Sahasi means Dhairyam. And Dhairyam is also a Sanskrit word. So these three qualities you have, you are a Brahmin. That's what Krishna says to Arjuna. If you are a fighter and you defend the country and so on, valor and so on, then you are a Kshatriya. If you make money for the society, if you earn money and the wealth is beneficial for the society, you are a Vaishya. If you cultivate the land and produce grain for the people, you are Shudra. None of these are top, bottom, nothing. Brahmins are not on top. But they are different groups, and each has a respect, and it should be treated. This scheduled caste business was a very small thing. It expanded during the Buddhist period, and then the Muslim period and the British period, they made it into a thing. The DNA of the scheduled caste and the DNA of the Brahmin, so-called Brahmin, I wouldn't say Brahmin, is the same. We are one people, and that's what Bhagavad said. I hope people listen at least to Bhagavad. If they don't listen to me, I've been saying this for almost 3 decades. Our DNA is one. There's no Aryan, there's no Dravidian. Dravida is a Sanskrit word which means Travid, which means where the 3 coastal lines meet. It's got nothing to do with race or something like that. It's all imagination on the part of the Dravida movement. So therefore, now I'm saying today that you can get rid of this siege if you develop some courage. If you don't, I can't develop courage, you need me, then let's form organization, maybe VHS itself. I leave it to Jagdish Shetty and all my other associates, Ramesh and so on, and Swami Lion, Swaminathan, we was called Swami Lion, and Tejas and so on. We got a lot of people. I don't mind setting a platform for all the temples, and to see that the people who misbehave are put in jail. They are charged under the criminal law for messing with us, and see that the Hindu religion has the respect it requires. We are people, we are the only, Hindus are the only religion in the whole world which says all religions lead to God. Will Islam say that? No. They say my way or the highway, or even cremation ground, not even highway. And what about the Christians? They also say either you are a devil, or you are possessed by the devil, or you are with Jesus. So we are the only one who say all religions lead to God. So I mean, there's no need to fear if Hindutva flourishes in our country. So I would say this first part, and therefore I would say to you today that we regard ourselves as only Hindus. Don't talk to this Brahmin. You know, there's no such thing as a Brahmin. If you are a pujari, you're automatically a Brahmin because you are doing only Jnani and Tyagi work in the temple. But of course, you should also be courageous. You should not be afraid. If somebody comes and said, "Put your signature here," don't put it. Somebody says, "No, you are, go out." Don't go out. Tell it, you pick me up and have the police come and pick me up and throw me, and then you register a case. So the issue is, if you are a professor, you become a Brahmin. If you are a military man, you become a Kshatriya. If you are a wealthy, if you are a industrialist, then then you are a Vaishya, and then if you are a farmer, you are this thing. And as far as the scheduled castes are concerned, there is no such thing as a scheduled caste. Born in a scheduled caste family is a scheduled caste. Valmiki was a scheduled caste, but he became a Maharishi. He wrote the Ramayana. So therefore, you know, all these things gone into the mind. We need a Hindu renaissance in terms of teaching, but that will come to later. Now, so part one. This is the part one that I wanted. Part two is the way out. What is the way out? I would say that the way out of the immediate problem of changing Archaka, the chief minister has said, "I'm not removing anybody, and even if someone is retiring, I'm going to find him some place." Well, I got to see that. I mean, I'm asking for reports. I've asked friends who are who are unidentified to tell me what is really happening, because I get all these phone calls, people saying this that is being kicked out, that's been. I said, you show me, if somebody else has been appointed, show me a photograph of the GO. Was there a GO issued? Otherwise, how was he sent there? How was he replaced? And the Pujari who was kicked out, he should give a written complaint to me. These are the things that I need. I need documents. I can't go to court and say, this is happening. No court will listen to me. They will, in fact, laugh at me and throw me out. I need documentation. So documentation is, if any pujari is being removed without a show cause notice, without a documentation that this show cause notice led to this, and then there was an inquiry, and the inquiry found such and such thing that this man doesn't do it, and removed him. And then if you are going to appoint another pujari, advertise it in the newspaper. Yeah, it can't be decided by Mr. Stalin or Mr. Whoever is the HR&D minister. Forget his name. These people can't decide. No, now the collector can decide, anybody can. You have to advertise it. Otherwise, you can't. And secondly, why are you there? You have been too long. I can show you that if you have been there more than 4 years, you have to get out. I can have a separate petition for each. Actually, that Sabanagar judgment was enough. And this unfortunately, we have not followed. And for each temple, we have to do it now, because the temples don't, the state government don't listen. They know, go to court, we will not agree. Supreme Court, we interpreted it differently, this kind of thing. But slowly they are beginning to do that. Even the Padmanabha Swami temple, originally they said, no, how can it apply here? It applies only there. Then when I showed them the paragraph which says it's a general proposition, they no, that is only for denomination temples. Then now they have come around, and they have created a committee to go into how the transition can take place. Then finally the court asked me in Kerala, who shall we return it to? And in the case of Sabanagar, it was very easy. The pujaris were the Dikshitas. It was snatched from them, so they were still around, so it was given to them. But in the case of Padmanabha Swami temple, who built it? The Raja, the royalty, the Travancore royalty, they built it. So I said, you give it back to them. So then they said, but they are in the constitution, the government has passed a constitutional amendment de-recognizing all Rajas, Ranis. So how can we do it? But these things now are being worked out. So I'm saying no temple can be more. I will put a larger margin. 5 years. If the government is in charge of it 5 years, it has to quit. And for that, if necessary, we'll have a separate petition in the Supreme Court with a lot of the sadhus, sannyasis, top ones all over the country, the 4 Shankaracharyas, all of them, they sign it, and I'll argue the matter. So that's another matter. But I first want all of you, all these people in Tamil Nadu, have some guts, you see. I can understand if Gurumurthy goes and hides because he's always been that type of man. But why should the ordinary people be afraid? And don't be only Brahmins, the Tevas, they are much more religious than us. Mutramalinga Tevar was such a religious man, you see. And he used to say, one eye is for my Anmikatanam and the other is for my for my nationalism. So I mean, these people, there are these communities, you should bring them. Forget this Brahmin business. Make it Hindu. It should be a Hindu movement. And if you are Jnani and Tyagi and Sahasi or a Nirbhay or Dhairyam, then you are a Brahmin. Take it like that. So, but don't make that as an issue. It's a Brahmin versus non-Brahmin, all that. This is all bakwas nonsense, which the DMK and the British brainwash them to think. So let us now move in the forward in the sense of clearing the law for the government to get out from the temples. And so therefore I would say that there are a number of judgments. See, when I was law minister in 1990-91, there was a temple in Tanjavur which was closed down, and it was a Nataraj temple. So there was a lock, and there was no chowkidar, nothing. Nobody was there to pay them on that. So what happened is that a farmer one day was plowing his field, and he hit a sound which showed that some iron is there. So he dug it up and he found that the temple's Nataraj, somebody in order to protect it had buried it. So he took it out and he was so pleased, he put it in his house and he boasted about it. Then out of the blue, there was news spread, and so people came to him, and some of them were smugglers. So they said, we'll give you 25,000 rupees. You give it to us. So he gave it. They took it, smuggled it to London. And then there was a Sotheby. There's a very famous institution called Sotheby. They held an auction, and they were about to sell it for a huge amount. I mean, the equivalent of 3 crores. And there's Nagaswamy, one of your people, who was called by the court to give them, the education on this, and they have also appreciated it in the judgment. So Nagaswamy has also addressed our VHS meetings. So what happened is that I became a law minister, and Rajiv Gandhi told me, see, I had filed the case, now you conclude it. So I took interest, and I was surprised to see, thanks to Nagaswamy's pleadings, that the English Supreme Court, what is called the House of Lords, the equivalent of House of Lords, in the Queen's Bench, they adopted it because there was no challenge, and said, if a temple has been constructed by Prana Pratishta Puja, that condition is there, then it is always a temple, whether it is in ruins, whether it's been demolished, whether it is anything. Once you have constructed it by prana pratishtha puja, it shall remain a temple always, which is an argument, by the way, I used in Ram temple. I said that this is where Ram was born. There's no other place in India where Ram was born. So therefore, this is my fundamental right to pray where Ram was born. Earlier on, all the fight was this is Waqf board property or whether it is some trustee's property. So I brought in this new angle, and that's how the case started moving. And ultimately, we got, on the basis of faith, we got the entire Ram Janmabhoomi. Of course, now Modi and others can claim, but Modi filed a petition with the help of Mr. Gurumurthy to say all the land which Narasimha Rao had nationalized so that he could build a temple, we want to return it to the people. Fortunately, the Supreme Court ignored that petition. And so we went through and won the case. So today, I want to tell you that it is well known that if a temple is built on Prana Pratishtha Puja, even if an MLA demolishes it and builds his house will be demolished. Because once such a temple is built, it's always a temple. So we have to find out which are the temples which have been demolished and find out whether it was built with Prana Pratishtha Puja, and then we can see that it is restored. And those which are with the government and they are more than 4 or 5 years, we can make a special application to the Supreme Court saying your judgment said this, but you see what is happening here. Now, I think both this, now let me start discussing the judgment of the famous judgment. And you can see, thanks to our friend Ramesh, he has extracted it from the SCC. 2014 is the judgment. The volume of SCC is 5 Supreme Court cases. That's the name of the volume, page 75. And it was before Dr. B.S. Chauhan, a judge, senior judge, and S.A. Bobde, who later became Chief Justice. And my civil appeal number is 10620 of 2013, Subramaniam Swamy versus the state of Tamil Nadu. Nobody else's name is there. So all those people who claim they did it, you just tell them to go to hell. In paragraph 4, there were others who filed it, but the court didn't give them much importance. But the paragraph 4 in the judgment says, for the convenience in addressing the parties deciding the appeal, and deciding, by the even Sabhanayakar Temple's Dikshitar also filed it. Afterwards, I filed. First, they were not going to file. Then Dayanand Saraswati made me file. After that, when they found I filed, they also came because some lawyer must have caught them and said, oh, I'll file for you. But anyway, they also filed, but they are not mentioned. Deciding away, we have taken civil appeal number 10620 of 2013 as the leading appeal. That is mine. The facts and circumstances give rise to appeal as under Sri Sabhanayakar Chidambaram hereinafter in the existence such times of immemorial and been administered for a long time. So it's very clear that this is something that the blessings of Swami Dayanand Saraswati, otherwise it could never happen. It's a miracle. Me coming all of a sudden at Supreme Court level without going to the High Court level. No Supreme Court will entertain it. But anyway, they entertained it and said it will be considered leading. Now, next page. Next paragraph. Paragraph 65. Now, this is very important. Please read every word. Even if the management of a temple is taken over to remedy the evil, which is the evil what every day only talking about, oh, misappropriation of money, this happened, that Pujari has run away with the gold, all that nonsense is constantly we see in the newspaper. So, all right, there's some evil. So, to remedy that evil, you are taking over the management. You are not going to be a Pujari. You can't decide who is the Pujari. You have nothing to do with the religion. And all these non-believers in religion, why are they wanting to interfere with who's going to be the Pujari, who's not going to be the Pujari? The management must be handed over to the person concerned immediately after the evil stands remedied. You remedy it and return it back. continuation thereafter would tantamount to usurpation of their proprietary rights or violation of the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution in the favor of the persons deprived. So this is the very clear. And then it goes on to say, therefore, taking over the management circus must be for a limited period. I had said at that time, make it 3 years. They said 5 years, but they didn't put it in the thing. So fair enough, because there's no point putting hard and fast rules which you can't keep except by adjusting here there. So a limited period. It can't be, for instance, Tirupati has been taken over in 1933. That means what? 86 or 88 years it has been in government hands. So that's not a limited period. Thus, such an expropriatory order requires to be considered strictly, as it infringes on the fundamental rights of the citizens, would amount to divesting them of their legitimate rights to manage and administer temples for an indefinite period. They are of the view that the impugned order, that is the Karunanidhi's order on Sabha is liable to be set aside for the failure to prescribe the duration for which it will be enforced. So now I will write a letter to the HR and CE department, whoever the minister, Shekhar Babu or something like that, I think. I'll tell him, please tell me how long more you want to keep these temples. If he doesn't give it, I'll go to court. If he says, I will take another 50 years, then also I'll go to court. If he says, I am doing it, I'll do it within the next 4 years, then I'll say, you've already taken so much time. But anyway, we'll give you 4 more years, provided you show us progress along the 4 years. You give us a report every 6 months as to what you have done, so that we know you're moving in that direction. We are of the view that the impugned order is liable to be set aside for failure to prescribe the duration for which it will be enforced. So if you take over a temple without showing the duration for which you have taken it, then it is illegal. Then it goes on further. Supersession, paragraph 66. Supersession of rights of administration cannot be of a permanent, enduring nature. Its life has to be reasonably fixed so that it is coterminous with the removal of the consequences of the maladministration. Because as soon as you have fixed the maladministration, you have to return it right away. The reason is that the objective to take over the management and administration is not the removal and replacement of the existing administration, but to rectify and stamp out the consequences of maladministration. Power to regulate does not mean power to supersede the administration. So this the whole thing about removing the administration and taking it over. Sorry, you can't do it. All you can do is say, this has happened, we held an inquiry, this is the report of the inquiry, and we will ask for the opinion of the pujaris, and if they don't give a satisfactory, we will take it over. The pujaris can then go to court and challenge it, saying that this is all arbitrary and all that. So it is very clear, it has to be for a small fixed period, a small period, and it must be based only, not to administer the temple, but only it has to be for setting right a wrong that has happened. And if somebody has done a criminal act, then to punish him, of course. But this is the thing. Now, there's one more paragraph, I think, 69. Yeah. We would like to bring on record various instances whereby mismanagement, maladministration, misappropriation alleged to have been committed by Podu Dikshitas have been brought to our notice. That's what Karunanidhi did. He had some phobia about this, you see. It must come into my hands. And we have not gone into those issues since we have come to the conclusion that the power under the 1959 Act, which is the act under which they are taking, for appointment executive officer, could not have been exercised in the absence of any prescription of circumstances, conditions in which such an appointment may be made. You just can't make it because you feel like it. You have to have a report which to say that the finances are being misappropriated or something. More so, the order of appointment of the executive does not disclose as for what reason under what circumstances his appointment was necessitated. Even otherwise, the order in which no period of its operation is prescribed is not sustainable, being ex facie illegal, unjust. So, therefore, in my opinion, it is very clear all 4 lakh temples in the hands of the Tamil Nadu government have to be taken out of the Tamil Nadu government. If they can't find the original trustees of it, then you should give it to the Hindu Dharma Acharya Sabha, which which Swami Dayanand Saraswati set it up, or some other body, or you call all Tamil Nadu sadhus and sannyasi to a conference and say, you please take it. And therefore, this is the way to go about it. I would say today that whatever the DMK is doing, I must, of course, get proof that they are doing all the things that they are accused of. Every day I get a phone call, they are doing this, they are doing that, but no proof. And then we have the Chief Minister making a statement that we will not remove anybody. And if we are appointing anybody, which also is illegal, they can't appoint pujaris. How can people who don't believe in God want to appoint pujaris? This is a new one. Anyway, they can't. But he said this much, that he's not going to remove anybody. Okay. If anybody is removed, I must have proof. I get phone call, this man is removed, that man is removed. Oh my God, they all feel in panic. I say, well, did he get a dismissal order? No. Has he got a dismissal? No. Has the GO been published on it? No. Then how do I go to court and say that they have removed him? No, he's now not able to come. That means he's a coward. Let him come, ask the police that I'm not being allowed to enter the temple. Please escort me there. Or he can tell me, I will call up the governor and tell him, please do it. I mean, I'll request him, he's my friend, so I can tell him, do it. But this is the way to do it, the people's power. But Tamil Nadu is full of boneless wonders. And I don't want to hear all this Brahmin business. I want only Hindu. Or for me, all of the same. In fact, Muthuramalingam, whose photograph people have mentioned is in my room, that Muthuramalingam is much more religious than all the Brahmins combined. And he used to speak on it too. So therefore, Hindu is all I am interested in. And if any Hindu is going to be troubled because he's a Hindu, then I will come into the picture. A Brahmin, then how do I know somebody is a Tata company director and he says he's a Brahmin? How can you be a Brahmin when you're in Tata company? That's not the work of a Brahmin. Yes, if you are a journalist or if you are a teacher or you are a person, excuse me, living on your mental faculties, or a preacher, you're a pujari, all those are definitely Brahmins. So therefore, this is what Lord Krishna says. I'm not saying this. It's there in Bhagavad Gita. There are 3 chapters in which Krishna has repeated that it is not got to do with birth. It is the gunas. It is the place where you are working. It's your karmas. These are the things it's said. And that's why Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya family. He became Maharishi. And he was Brahmin of Brahmins, you see. And the same thing with Valmiki. He was in a scheduled caste family, became a Maharishi. Then Vedavyasa, his mother was a fisherwoman. Then Kalidasa, the greatest poet we have produced, he was a Vanvasi. He was cutting branches of trees when he was taken and given an education and he became a Maharishi. So where is it saying that you have to be born in a particular family and then only you can be a Brahmin? No. Brahmin is a guna and Kshatriya is a guna. Vaishya is a guna, and Shudras are gunas, and scheduled caste also a guna, but that's a temporary thing. The moment the children are born, they can be anything according to which gunas they adopt. So therefore, scheduled caste should be a very small number, but it has grown because of the Islamic and the British period, where they deliberately wanted to defame the Hindu religion. So they brought them up. But Ambedkar knew it. But Jawaharlal Nehru made Ambedkar's life so miserable that he became bitter in the end. But otherwise, Ambedkar's writings on Hinduism is one of the classics, right from 1966 in Columbia University. And he got a degree in PhD in economics in Columbia, went to London school, got a DSc. Then he went and got a law degree. Then came and Sardar Patel and Rajendra Prasad. Sardar Patel was the chairman of the committee for fundamental rights in creating the constitution, and Rajendra Prasad was the president. Both of them told him, "You're the best person for amendments. You be the chairman of the drafting committee." So he was the chairman. Ambedkar was the chairman of the drafting committee. And it's so nationalistic. When he was asked to move the Article 370 on Kashmir, he said, "I'm not a traitor. I will not move it." So Jawaharlal Nehru went hunting for Ananta Gopalsamy Iyengar and brought him to move the amendment for 370. So therefore, these are people who have demonstrated by their life work that they qualify to be Brahmins. So you have to qualify to be a Brahmin. You can't be born a Brahmin. So please don't address me, the Brahmins are in trouble. And yes, if DMK targets a Brahmin because he's a Brahmin, like they did for that school, then I'll intervene. I will say that, okay, let's have a fight. But then he backed off. He said, no, it's only that teacher. And he was not even a Brahmin, that teacher, by the old definition. And so the whole thing fizzled out. I'm happy at least the chief minister responds whenever I speak. And, I think that that's how in a democracy it should be. I may be his enemy politically, but that doesn't mean that I have to be in confrontation necessary. But if he wants a confrontation, I will not back off. So therefore, today I am saying to all of you, you have no problem. You don't know the law. That's why you have become so weak. Learn the law and be brave, and nothing will happen to you. And I'll certainly stand by all of you when you need my help in getting the matter processed and finalized. Thank you very much, Mr. Jagdish Shetty and Ramesh and all the other colleagues who have made this possible. I think this is a very, very important topic, and I certainly be pursuing this.
So, thank you, Dr. Swami. Maybe can you say a few words in Tamil to basically the affected people? How they basically, what do they need to do? Like what you said, if the priest is getting thrown out or not, what do they
Modala hai, yaar pujari, archaka, யாராவது வந்து அந்த கோயில்ல இருந்து வெளியில எடுத்துறதுக்கு நான் முடி வந்ததுன்னா அதை எழுதி கொடுத்தாம அதை வந்து அதுக்கு அதை அலட்சியம் பண்ண வேண்டும், அதை வந்து கவனிக்க கூடாது. வன்முறை யாராவது பண்ணா போலீஸ் கேஸ் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்லி ஆயிடும். அதனால உங்க பதவி எந்த பதவி இருக்கோ அந்த பதவியில நீங்க தைரியமா இருக்க வேண்டும். யாராவது வந்து நீங்க போடான்னு சொன்னா போக மாட்டோம்னு சொல்லுங்க. போலீஸ் போன் பண்ணி நீங்க வந்து மிரட்ட வந்திருக்கீங்கன்னு அந்த கம்ப்ளைண்ட்டும் கொடுத்துருக்கோம். அது மாதிரி பண்ணா இவாளே திரும்பி ஓடி போயிடுவார். நீங்க பயப்படுறீங்க, அதுக்காக தான் வந்திருக்கா. இது வந்து ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கணும். வேற என்ன கேள்வி இருக்கா?
No, sir. So my first question was this: according to the Constitution, right? Under the it says charities, charitable institutions, charitable religious endowment, they are under the concurrent list. So my first question is, why can't the BJP government at the center pass and say it's gone, cancel? There are no endowments, nothing. Is it possible, and why can't they do it?
If they are taking over temples, how do you expect them to weaken that? Mr. Modi has betrayed all of us by that action. Okay, but it's not going to be permanent. We'll see. He will have to either do it or face the consequences of what he has done. Because this is a blow to all of us. You see, others are not so expressive as me, but I am a man who believes in democracy. You must speak your mind. Let the people know. And this is so there. Yeah, I agree that. And why they have such big fat volumes? I don't understand. Just a simple one geo is enough, saying that any temple found to be misappropriating, and if it misappropriating the funds of the temple and is proved to be prima facie correct, then the government is entitled to appoint a officer to conduct an inquiry into the finances, and after rectifying it and punishing the necessary people, giving the names of the people who have to be punished, return it to the trustees.
Okay. Why only temples, Dr. Swami?
Because I raised this issue once with the Supreme Court. Why I'm a Hindu being targeted? Why these Christians have got no such such act? Why the Muslims have no act? They said, we have not stopped you. Is there any place where you can give me a misappropriation of accounts, they say like a church, or you come to us and we will direct that the government prepare an act to deal with such matters. I have not been able to get a single thing. They are so well protected with each other, these Christians in the churches and the Waqf boards and all, that no one dares to give me any papers.
So they're very well united, and the Hindus are not. That's obvious.
Yes, right.
So it is ironic that we call ourselves the undivided Hindu family, but we are the most divided.
We are not even a family.
Okay, Jagdish, go ahead.
Dr. Swami, some of our viewers like to know what has happened in the central government on the Rama Setu being declared as a national heritage monument.
This is another problem that I'm having with Modi. See, in 2006 in Madras High Court, I filed two petitions. One, that the Setu Samudram project cannot touch Ram Setu, and two, that the Ram Setu should be declared as a heritage monument, a national heritage monument, which means the government will take care of it and see, and it can't be touched for lifetime. And there's an act for it, ancient monuments and archaeological remains or something like that. There's an act of 1958 which describes 5 or 6 minimum conditions for declaring anything as a national heritage monument, and one of them is it should be more than 100 years old. Of course, Ram Setu is thousands and thousands of years old. So Ram Setu qualifies all that. So then my High Court thing where the notice was issued and the stay was, not stay, but the notice was issued. The Tamil Nadu government, then DMK government, got frightened and they asked for transfer of my case to Supreme Court, where they thought that Chief Justice Balakrishnan will be sympathetic to the idea of allowing economic development to prevail over religion. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court took my side, and I got a stay. And then I argued, I won the case. The question then became, what about declaring it as a monument? So the court said, okay, we have so far concentrated on this saving the Ram Setu. Now we will issue a notice to the government. And now I'm talking about 2009. We'll issue a notice to the government. Then our government came, and I met Modi, and he said, bol dijiye hamare culture minister ko. And there was a man called Sharma, who was a very good man. He was removed later on, I don't know why. He began preparing papers, then he was removed. Then another first-class minister came, Prahlad Patel of Madhya Pradesh. And he called a meeting of all the officials, and I sat I was invited to the meeting. And he then asked the officers, they raised these questions, that question, I satisfied all of them. A report was prepared, and in 2017, after several reminders from the Supreme Court, this report was taken by Prahlad Patel by himself and given to the PM. And the PM is sitting on it. I've written him 20 letters. It's lying on your desk. All you have to do is sign, because everything has been done by your minister. And now find the minister is removed. I don't know why. Not for Ram Setu, I hope. But anyway, we are now going to get a new minister. We got a new minister, I think, perhaps he's from Andhra or something. Not Andhra, Telangana. And I'll have to again to him explain. I appealed to the Supreme Court when Boble was there, saying that this has been pending for so long. So he said, okay, notice issued. Public court, he said, notice issued and listed for April 26th. April 26th, the thing has disappeared. Then again, I got it listed. Again, it's getting disappeared. I don't know what's happening in the registry. Who is this bright fellow who, after it has been announced that it will be heard on such and such day, it just gets in the cause list. It doesn't appear. So I think there's some thing that this should not be done. Maybe Mr. Amit Shah has always this feeling that credit should not go to me, because once when I was arguing the Ram Mandir case, he told me, "Ab ho gaya bahut." I got it listed by a new argument. And then he calls me to his house and tells me, "Now you come out of it. I don't want any BJP people in it." And I said, "Sorry, Ashok Singhal, before he died, he caught my hand and said, 'Promise to me that you will take it up.' That's how I took it up. Now I'm not going to listen to anybody else, because this is a promise I've made to him." Continue. And then of course, you know that when the foundation stone was laid, my name was struck out. I couldn't be invited. I was not being invited. I have not been told. So maybe on that also, this Ram Setu, why should he get the credit? This must be the problem. Otherwise, what is the reason? I don't know. So I have decided now to get a little aggressive with the Supreme Court and get it listed and strictures passed. So that's going to be my effort. I don't know whether I will be able to pass it or not, but I'm going to try. So therefore, there must be some reason why Lord Rama is not allowing this to happen. I don't know. Because it is Lord Rama who brought me here. And somebody told me, who's a Ram Bhakt, that I'm having visions that you will be in this case, the Ram Mandir case, and out of the blue, Ashok Singhal asked me, and then I get into this case. So I think that it's very sad that for petty reasons, this and there's no masjid there, there's no church there. So what's the difficulty in declaring it as a national heritage monument? In that case, what will happen is the government will look after it, see that it doesn't deteriorate, sees that it is renovated, sees that it is properly connected to Sri Lanka, so that people can walk there. Because there, Rajpaksha, when I told him about it, he went and renovated Ashok Patika, where Sita was kept prisoner, Ravan's palace, and Sanjeevani mountain, which you can see a mountain there with the vegetation of the Himalayas, not of Sri Lanka there. So all these, so that tourists will be able to come and see all that. So all that is ready. So that is where it is.
So, Dr. Swami, coming to this Tamil Archaka issue, I mean, as you rightly said, there is no hard evidence that has been provided to you, in the sense that nobody has either given you a document that has been signed by the government or a video of this thing happening. I understand. But in one of the notices that have been issued, I mean, there has been some errors, in the sense that instead of assigning a Vaishnava to a Shaiva, they have been assigning a Vaishnava to a Shaiva temple, a Shaiva to a Vaishnava. There's some confusion. But yes, as you said, somebody needs to document this, put it to you so that you can take this. Otherwise, I completely understand you can't just go to court with no evidence. You'll be laughed out.
I won't even have to go to court. I'll go to the police saying that these people have violated the law. How can they appoint Archaka? Who the hell are they? They have been elected to govern the country, not to govern temples. So I would say that get aggressive. I'm warning Mr. Stalin, what a name, that please don't allow your ministers to go issue notices like this. You have very limited scope, and that scope is only to examine whether there's been corruption or not. You can't appoint a Archaka. You can't remove Archaka, leave alone you can't even appoint one. And if there's a vacancy, put out a geo. If you don't want the pujaris to select somebody from their own ranks, you see. But you can't do it. And I am asking, give me an appointment letter or give me a dismissal letter. I will go to the police station. Under 295, I'll file a case against Stalin and that whatever Babu name is there he has. I'll give it to him. They all behave as if the British are still ruling India.
And one of the statements is saying that, oh, no, this is not a legacy issue. We should not have, the forefathers should not be.
So
what is Stalin? What is Stalin and Karnataka and what? Legacy is not valid for politicians, but for temples.
I agree. They say, oh, this shouldn't be for Brahmins. Who's a Brahmin? Anyone who is a Pujari is a Brahmin. What will you do?
Done in the proper way, educated, go to a school, learn the proper way,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all these are barbarians, I'm sorry to say. But you got all your Brahmin, so-called Brahmin intellectuals, they're all pussycats. The only remark they know whenever I speak is ayyo.
Dr. Swami, it's just that, sadly, as you said, the Britishers have made Brahmins spineless people, essentially spineless.
Made them clerks.
Clerks. I hope, after listening to what you just said today, at least a few, at least 4, 5 of them have the guts. Go per law. We're not asking them to go and start destroying stuff or anything like that. File a case, file a writ petition, file a case in your police station. If you have been aggrieved, follow the law and you're going to win.
No, I would say I'll go on a particular day to Madras. Let one of the pujaris come and give me an affidavit. Okay. I'll have lawyers ready. They will have they will prepare the affidavit. They won't have to, go to any lawyer. And that's it. Then next thing I'll do is go to the police station and file a case under 295. And if they don't, if the police don't, because they say, oh, Chief Minister, how we can, then I'll go to court.
Absolutely.
They're not registering my complaint.
But here you go, viewers. I mean, in Tamil Nadu, the priest or Archakas who are watching this, you don't have a better opportunity than this. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
All these Tamils have been watching these Rajinikanth films, They only live in this imagination.
So, okay, Dr. Jagdish, go ahead.
Ramesh, complete your sentence on the appeal to the priests.
So, in Tamil நேயர்கள் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை பார்த்திருப்பீங்க. டாக்டர் சுவாமி சொன்னபடி நீங்க யாருக்கெல்லாம் பாதிப்பு இருக்கோ, அந்த அர்ச்சகாலோ சிவாச்சாரியாரோ யாருக்கெல்லாம் பாதிப்பு இருக்கோ அவெல்லாம் ஒரு அஃபிடவிட்ல எழுதி கையெழுத்து போட்டு டாக்டர் சுவாமி அடுத்த தடவை சென்னை வரும்போது அவரிடம் ஒப்படைச்சிருங்க. அவரை எடுத்து அதை கம்ப்ளைண்ட் பண்றேன்னு சொல்லியிருக்காரு. அதை நீங்க தயவு செஞ்சு அதையாவது செய்யுங்க. சரி, நீங்க இங்க போவான்ட்டு அங்க போனா அவன் நடிச்சிருவான், என்ன போன நடத்துறோம், இதெல்லாம் இந்த பயத்தெல்லாம் விட்டுருங்க. இந்த அஃபிடேவிட்டை எழுதி தயவு செஞ்சு டாக்டர் சுவாமியோட அட்ரஸ்ல உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் எல்லாருக்கும், பாபநாசன் சிவன் சாலையில இருக்கு அவரோட ஆபீஸ். அங்க தயவு செஞ்சு உங்களோட அஃபிடேவிட்டை கொடுத்துருங்க.
சந்திரலேகா
மிஸ்ஸஸ் சந்திரலேகா அங்க இருக்காங்க. விஹெச்எஸ் பிரசிடென்ட், தமிழ்நாடு பிரசிடென்ட் மேடம் சந்திரலேகா இருக்காங்க. மதன் ராஜன் இருக்கார், டாக்டர் சுவாமியோட செக்ரட்டரி. இவா 2 பேரையும் மீட் பண்ணி இந்த அஃபிடேவிட்டை அவங்க கிட்ட கொடுத்துருங்க. அடுத்த தடவை டாக்டர் சுவாமி வரும்போது அதை எடுத்துட்டு அது என்ன நடவடிக்கை எடுக்கணுமோ அதை டெஃபினட்டா எடுப்பார். Okay, Jagdish, go ahead.
Okay, friends, with this we come to an end of another very interesting discussion with Dr. Swami, where he expressed his views and gave us the way out of the issues which are now in Tamil Nadu. And I thank all our viewers, and especially I note that on one social media, that is YouTube, the amount of viewers which are constant viewing is a large number. and I thank our viewers across the globe for watching this program on all our social media channels. As you know, we are virtually on 6 to 7 social media channels like Periscope, Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, Facebook, Spaces, Clubhouse, and YouTube, as you know. So we thank for you for our cooperation. But as Ramesh Swamiji, my colleague, has mentioned, Dr. Swami has told you all to contact our VHS representative, that is Madam Chandralekha, who is the president of Virat Hindustan Sangam Tamil Nadu, and other office bearers. There are many in many districts also. Then there is Madan Raj, who will be available in our Chennai office, which is at Mylapore, 3 Papanasam Shivan Salai. So you can contact them and give all the documents what Dr. Swami has been requesting for last few days, and especially in the program, in a form of an affidavit, so we can pursue the matter. Lot of individuals and organizations have sent us information, but what we require is exact documents, affidavits, so that we can, Dr. Swami can pursue the matter legally. And as you have seen the extensive remarks of the Supreme Court in the Chidambaram town Nataraj temple case, we can also have such orders obtained. But emotion and legal thing have to be separated. You cannot be just emotional and not be having a legal papers and background, because court will believe in the documents that are produced. So with this remark, it is thanking my co-host Ramesh Swami, our founder president of Virat Hindustan Sangam, Dr. Swami, and our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Vishal Mehta, Ishwar Iyer, Tejas Navalgol, Swaminathan, and Gadgi Rakesh for their support to put this program together. We will be next Sunday at 8 p.m. on another interesting topic for the benefit of our viewers and members across the globe. Jai Hind and Dhanyavad.